What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to this edition of the Wrestling Matters Podcast. I am Anthony Walker. You know who I am by now. Today we're going to talk about Raw. We're going to talk about SmackDown. We're going to talk about TNA. We're going to talk about some main points. Give a few shout outs out. And also, I'm also going to let you know what's taking place next week's episode. The next episode. I have a guest on. I have guests on. Hopefully it's guests, but it might very well have to be a guest. I don't know. But I've got guests coming on next week, so I will let you know that towards the end of the show as well. So you might want to look out for that, because it's going to be very interesting. That's right. It is a 3-month anniversary show. I guess you could call it 3 months. I've been doing this now for 3 months, for Pete's sake. So I guess you could call this now 3 months anniversary. It all started April 7th, and we're now heading next week's episode in July. And I've got the host of the Sunday Segue Wrestling Podcasts coming on. Like I say though, more on that later on. Right now I'm going to kick off with Raw's main talking points. So without further ado, let's get into it. We kicked off this week with Stephanie McMahon coming out and wanting to teach Vicky Guerrero a lesson for what happened last week. So, no more room for excuses. Stephanie McMahon's coffee, along with Stephanie herself, was compromised last week. And rather than blame Roman Reigns, the man who was responsible for this, one of the WWE's principal owners instead set her sights on the woman she left in charge after the authority was forced to abandon Raw mid-show. Vicky Guerrero, the SmackDown general manager, wasn't outright fired for disobeying orders and allowing Roman Reigns into the last week's fateful battle royal, though instead Stephanie gave her a chance of resigning or remaining as SmackDown GM, provided she could defeat Stephanie herself in a match on Raw. To the surprise of everyone, Vicky, tired of being run down by the McMahons, was ready to lie and cheat as steal to save her job. Viva la raza, if you know what I mean. Usos also faced the tag team champions that night in singles matches as well, but I want to talk about that, but I know it's going to be a waste of time. I know it's definitely going to be a waste of time talking about that match, because granted, the Usos will face the Wyatt family at the pay-per-view. I just don't think they're going to be the tag team champions. I hope I'm wrong, but they've built them up, the Wyatts up, to not put the belts on them. You know, that's WWE's motto nowadays. But don't get me wrong, Usos deserved. There's never been a more deserving tag team in the WWE in a long time that deserved to be tag team champions other than the Usos. The Usos totally deserve it. They should have had it a long time ago. But finally, WWE woke up and smelled the coffee and realised they should have been champions. But we'll wait and see. That's coming up at Money in the Bank. Seth Rollins versus the whole fucking show, Rob Van Dam. Least anyone think Rob Van Dam just sits at home washing his tights these days. The former WWE champion not only found himself named alongside Kofi Kingston, Dolph Ziggler, Jack Swagger and Bad News Barrett to the traditional Money in the Bank contract ladder match by the CEO of the company, Triple H, but he also took the game's personal pick in the match, Seth Rollins to the limit in a singles action on Raw. RVD challenged Rollins personally after some choice words for the aerialist on the whole fucking show. I will not say that what it should say. Supposedly deeming glory, and showed he had plenty left in the tank. In fact, for all intents and purposes, Rob Van Dam, who also faced NXT champion Adrian Neville this past week on WWE NXT, shout out to Darren Dyer on that one. Axel Mulligan, check him out on his show, Axel's Analysis. I'm sure you'll have some analysis about that match as well later on. I want to do some NXT stuff as well, but I haven't had time. Now and again, I've just been more focused on this, and I might start doing the NXT big shows as well after it, but that's nearer now. Back to this. Ran circles around Rollins, whose youth and energy enabled him to keep pace despite eating a rolling thunder, a springboard tornado DDT. It was a dodge of the 5-star frog splash that left Rob Van Dam spent and vulnerable to the curb stomp. Peace of mind, whatever the hell you want to call it. But a timely pounce by Dean Ambrose out of nowhere gave the aerialist the DQ win, but cost him physically to the tune of a mugging after the bell had sounded. To top it off, Ambrose all but declared himself for the Money in the Bank ladder match, as well as vowing to screw up the entire pay-per-view if his demands were not met. Long story short, and thanks to some strategy from Rollins, they were. Intercontinental Champion Bad News Barrett versus Dolph Ziggler. Now, this is not a title. Well, I don't know if this was a title match. Yes, it was for the title match, but basically this wasn't a proper title match. This was built for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Last Friday, Dolph Ziggler got some good news when he pinned the Intercontinental Champion. Monday, he got some bad news when that same superstar, Bad News Barrett, put his title up on the line against the Show-Off. Could the Show-Off repeat the Faith in the rematch? Nah. And came out smiling when all was said and done. Dolph wasn't lacking in enthusiasm or heart, but despite planting Barrett with an early zigzag, the wear and tear of the Englishman's own offense left Dolph unable to capitalize, and the former World Heavyweight Champion wasn't able to find his way back home. The closest Dolph got to the top rope face buster that nearly rendered Bad News Barrett's face to dismal lead to a near repeat of a sunset flip that pinned Barrett on SmackDown. Only the Brit reversed Dolph into the wasteland to stay alive. The two traded near falls for a few moments, and it was Barrett who got the last word when he decked Dolph with the bullhammer elbow, and the Show-Off sprang through the air on a corner splash. 1, 2, 3. Still the bloody champion, though don't say he didn't work for it. He should be world champion, to be honest with you. But that's just me, ladies and gents. Stephanie McMahon against Vicky Guerrero. Vicky Guerrero is gone, but let it never be said that the SmackDown GM didn't get the last laugh in when all was said and done. Attempting to maximize Vicky's humiliation on the way out, Stephanie added the stipulation that the loser of the match would be determined by who got tossed in the puddle of muck at the entrance ramp. Despite having Alicia Fox, Layla and Rosa Mendes as her henchwoman, Vicky nearly saved her skin by tossing the three interlopes into the sludge. Sadly and ironically, she chose an honest route and took her eye off the ball, while Stephanie shut down the lying, cheat and steal Guerrero, shoving Vicky into retirement from behind, so to speak, although I've heard differently. Stephanie paused to engage in some post-match mockery, but the woman with nothing to lose is a dangerous thing for all people, especially with a male as well. And Vicky left with her head held high after shoving Stephanie into the pool. Farewell Cougar in charge. You don't mess with a Guerrero. I think that was proven in that match. And why not go to the main event of the evening? John Cena, US Champion Sheamus, and Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, Cesaro, and Alberto Del Rio. Basically a repeat of last week's SmackDown match. 4-on-3, no problem. For the second time in 2 weeks, John Cena, Sheamus, Roman Reigns overcame the odds to defeat their Money in the Bank foes in the rematch of a SmackDown's Furious main event. Looking to avoid a repeat loss, Orton, Alberto Del Rio, Bray Wyatt and Cesaro each teed off on Cena and Reigns in the early goings, forcing the 14-time world champion and the former WWE Tag Team Champion to summon Sheamus in order to stave off defeat. True to form, the United States Heavyweight Champion had better luck rampaging his way through Cesaro with 13 beats of that proverbial chest of Cesaro before Orton interfered and set off a brawl that ended with a bro kick to Cesaro's chin and the substantive 1, 2, 3. The post-match emergence of Kane threw everyone into a frenzy, though, as the Devil's favourite demon laid waste to everyone moments before Triple H reappeared and declared Kane the 8th participant in the championship ladder match at Money in the Bank. Now these 7 superstars will dance with the demon in the pale moonlight, though Roman Reigns' spear to Kane was an indication at least there's one guy ready for the challenge. We'll find out what happens at Money in the Bank. More on that later on as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will go to TNA's main points. TNA's main points kicked off this week with the recap of MVP's abusive power that saw the crowning of Bobby Lashley as the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion and the return of Bobby Roode. Backstage, MVP Kenny King and the new World Champion Bobby Lashley claim tonight is theirs. We shall see. After the first match, it came back from a commercial break, and a promo airs that Bound for Glory will take place October 12th from Tokyo, Japan. Damn, that's going to be big. MVP Kenny King enter the Impact Zone to celebrate the new TNA World Champion Bobby Lashley. MVP claims his regained power as Director of Wrestling Operations because Lashley is the champion. MVP's speech is interrupted by the former champion Eric Young. EY rushes to the ring to attack MVP, but Kenny King and Bobby Lashley step in and begin their assault. Just as MVP is about to hit EY with the crutch, Bobby Roode explodes onto the scene and clears the ring. Back from the commercial break, Bobby Roode has a mic and claims he and EY, despite having their ups and downs, helped build TNA wrestling from the bottom up, and that they both have love, desire, and passion for the professional wrestling. Roode says MVP took their love, desire, and passion away, and that he's returned to bring honor and respect back to TNA wrestling. MVP re-enters the ring. He says Bobby Roode made the biggest mistake probably of his life, even though he didn't say it, by returning just when it looks like MVP is about to fire Roode. Earls Sullivan Armstrong from TNA's board of directors interrupts. Armstrong says MVP is no longer the Director of Wrestling Operations, and that his replacement will be named and it will appear later tonight. And with that being said, to end it, Bobby Roode punches MVP in the mouth. Dixie Carter enters the arena accompanied by her lapdog, Rockstar Spud. Dixie says she hopes the fans recognize the historical significance of her return to power. She says her mistake was she lost the power was because she put faith in wrestlers. Dixie says tonight is about the future and her regaining complete control of TNA. She invites Earl Sullivan Armstrong to the ring. Armstrong thanks Dixie for some kind words, but says there has been a misunderstanding. Armstrong says Dixie Carter is not the new Director of Wrestling Operations, but whoever it is will be in the arena later on. Dixie and Rockstar verbally attack Armstrong. She declares, "This is my ring and I own these people. Tell that to Bully Ray." Bully Ray enters the ring. Dixie hides behind the lapdog as the crowd demands tables. Dixie asks Bully what it will take. How much money does he want to spare her? She offers $200,000. Bully Ray declines and declares he'd rather put her through a table. EC3 tries to save Dixie, but Bully fights off both EC3 and Rockstar Spud. Bully Ray hoists Dixie into the air and moves towards the table, but Rockstar Spud saves the day, and EC3 and Spud retreat with Dixie. The day's coming, it's just a case of when. Backstage, EC3 is on the phone with Rockstar Spud demanding to be picked up. However, EC3 has problems of his own, because emerging from the shadows to attack EC3 was none other than Tommy Dreamer. The brawl spills into the Impact Zone. Dreamer attacks EC3 with a trash can and then chokes him with his jacket. EC3 breaks out of the hole and slams Dreamer onto the ramp. Dreamer and EC3 throw each other into steel stairs. Dreamer hits EC3 with a steel chair, but EC3 rams Dreamer's head into the turnbuckle. When the action carries into the ring, Dreamer hits a strong clothesline before mounting a series of punches and bites to the skull of EC3. TNA agents enter the arena to break up the brawl. Ed Sullivan emerges to the ramp again to announce the new Director of Wrestling Operations in TNA, who is the replacement for MVP. Well, the replacement is none other than the Olympic gold medalist and TNA Hall of Famer, Kurt Angle. Kurt says he accepted the position to give back to the wrestling fans. Bobby Lashley leads MVP and Kenny King into the Impact Zone. MVP questions the board of directors' decision. MVP says the three of them are going to be a problem for Kurt Angle. MVP says Kurt Angle may have some authority, but he has the power. Angle says that if they lay a finger on him, he'll fire them all on the spot. Kurt says Bobby Lashley will defend the TNA World Championship next week against former champion Eric Young, and Kurt Angle says he's reinstated Bobby Roode. A brawl between Bobby Roode and Eric Young, Bobby Lashley and Kenny King breaks out, and Impact goes off air. It'll be interesting to see what happens next week, but I think things have got a little interesting with Kurt Angle in charge. Now on to the main SmackDown talking points. Triple H kicked off SmackDown with Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. The WWE COO proudly proclaimed that the authority era would be remembered for its history-making Money in the Bank pay-per-view this Sunday, the World Heavyweight Championship ladder match, which he predicted would be won by the Viper. The game also forecasted that Rollins would be the first superstar to grab the Money in the Bank briefcase and decide his own destiny. Despite an unbanished confidence from the King of Kings, both superstars acted more like bickering brothers than potential Money in the Bank winners, showing distraught in each other after the Shield turncoat offered up the possibility that Orton could fail in his quest to become the new face of the WWE. The cerebral assassin quickly calmed both sides down before gleefully delivering bad news to Dean Ambrose in the form of an upcoming match with Bad News Barrett. Speaking of that match, Dean Ambrose and fellow Money in the Bank contract ladder match competitor Bad News Barrett traded hard-hitting strikes in SmackDown's opening bout. With the Money in the Bank briefcase hanging above the ring, it was the lunatic Fringe who ultimately stood tall, using dirty deeds to silence the British brawler. As the smoke cleared, a third ladder match participant, Jack Swagger, emerged and attacked a war-torn Barrett, an attack that resulted in a separated shoulder for the tough title holder. Not one to shy away from a fight, a ravenous Ambrose hurled himself onto the American and quickly incorporated the ladder just as the superstar was getting the better of him, of Swagger. However, Seth Rollins launched a strike attack on his former business associate that ended with a cold-hearted curb stomp. Bad News Barrett injured. Question is, will it be okay for Sunday? And I hope they're not going to downfall him again like they've done before. Sheamus and Bray Wyatt battled in a one-on-one showdown for the World Heavyweight Championship ladder match participants, but their showdown was destined to erupt into a six-superstar mayhem despite the Usos' arrival at ringside to help stave off a looming assault of Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, the number one contenders for the World Tag Team titles, managed to interrupt the contest just as the Celtic Warrior had the Wyatt family leader in a precarious position. Aimed the French post-match scuffle, Wyatt family was able to elude further damage by avoiding a potential head-spinning bro kick from the Irish superstar. Alberto Del Rio and Cesaro versus Rob Van Dam and Dolph Ziggler. Alberto Del Rio and Cesaro overcame Rob Van Dam and Dolph Ziggler in a showdown pitting the World Heavyweight Championship ladder match members against the Money in the Bank contract ladder match participants after the Mexican superstar forced RVD to tap to his cross armbreaker submission. Unfortunately for Del Rio, his post-match bravo didn't sit well with the Swiss superstar, who did not hesitate to nail his forthcoming Money in the Bank fall with the neutralizer. Roman Reigns and Kane provided a preview of Sunday's Money in the Bank ladder match for the world title in an explosive SmackDown main event. The black-vested superstar looked to be on the verge of victory after a Superman punch to the jaw of the Demon Kane, only to have Randy Orton arrive and interrupt the bout. Another Superman punch helped Reigns escape the stranglehold of the Viper, but the determined superstar couldn't avoid a hellacious chokeslam from the Devil's favourite demon. Despite a moment of uncertainty as the masked demon brought a ladder into the ring, the 7-footer and first WWE World Heavyweight Champion appeared to be on the same page. That page, however, was quickly torn by Reigns as he speared both sinister superstars in an explosive Friday night finish. Be interested to see what happens at Money in the Bank. It'd be interesting to see what happens in the Fallout as well on Monday Night Raw. We'll take a quick commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. Quick promos coming on the air. After that, I will be talking about some opinions of what is going on in the wrestling world and giving my views and giving some shout outs too. So stay tuned for that. I'll be back after this. Do you want to be an EPW wrestler? Do you want to be a wrestler in general? Are you living in the Middlesbrough area, or can you get to the Middlesbrough area? Then this is for you. EPW Wrestling. You want to be a part of it? Thought so. Go to epwwrestling.co.uk, www.facebook.com/EPW American Wrestling, and hit the like button. But for further details though, go to EPW's website and contact. Contact details are on there if you want to be a part of it. EPW where wrestling matters. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Anthony Walker, the host of the Wrestling Matters podcast, and you can now check out the Wrestling Matters podcast on youtube.com/HAW Wrestling Matters. You can now go to podomatic.com, iTunes, and now also you can go to a new one. That's right, a new site, Stitcher Radio. That's right, we're on Stitcher Radio right now. I'm on Stitcher Radio right now, and you could be too. Get yourself on there, download their app, the Stitcher Radio app, or the Stitcher app, whatever it is. Make sure you download their app, and you can listen to it on your phone, anywhere you want, at any time you want, at any place you want. That's the Wrestling Matters podcast now on YouTube, iTunes, Podomatic, and Stitcher Radio. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now I'm going to give you some updates now and things to talk about and whatnot, like I did last week. So, we're going to start with the status of Bad News Barrett. If you saw SmackDown, like I mentioned in the talking points, apparently he is injured. And according to websites, WWE made no announcement of Bad News Barrett's status for Money in the Bank on tonight's SmackDown. We know that Bad News Barrett had x-rays the day after he suffered a shoulder injury on Tuesday's tapings and then returned home. No word yet if he would be in action Sunday, Money in the Bank. I hope so. I hope it's not another, thing all over again, deja vu thing all over again. He's going to go out, he's going to do these bad news gimmick things. The guy deserves to be a world champion. WWE can't see that, and they want to talk about they're not going to push Dolph Ziggler because he's injury prone. Maybe this is the reason why Wade Barrett's not getting his rightful push. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Drew McIntyre gave an interview on June 24th, 2014. Well, the video of the interview is up on YouTube, and he talked about his WWE departure. So go to YouTube search engine if you're interested in seeing this or hearing it. Go to Drew McIntyre interview, June 24th, 2014. Type that in the search engine and you'll see it for yourself. He's got a picture of Drew holding the Intercontinental Championship belt. So make sure you check that out as well. And I'll be checking that out as well. That should be interesting, very much so. News going around that Roman Reigns and Triple H will be going one-on-one at SummerSlam. That's been put down for a SummerSlam match. But the news on it is there was at least some talk within WWE of saving Roman Reigns versus Triple H until September's Night of Champions pay-per-view as a big match that will help push the WWE Network renewals for earlier subscribers. It was reported that Reigns versus Kane would take place at Battleground with Reigns versus Orton at SummerSlam if they went that route, but as we noted this morning, Reigns versus Orton is already booked for Battleground, so I guess them two are going to go out at the Battleground. There was also talk of doing a possible swerve at Money in the Bank with Orton winning the World Championship, leading to Reigns versus Cena versus Orton at Battleground. That would have been when Cena wins to set up the title for Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, a title match for him at SummerSlam. I would like that route, to be honest with you. I wouldn't like to see Orton win the title. I'd say put the title on Reigns and then do that. I'd say put the title on Reigns and then do that. It'd be pointless in a way to put it on Orton. Nothing against Orton, but it'll be just pointless to put it on Orton. It'll make no sense to me. I'm sure everybody has their own opinions about it and that, but we'll just have to wait and see. It appears local advertising for WWE's pay-per-view Battleground on July 20th in Tampa has leaked out a few days early. I think we all know the two main event matches that are going to be on there. The main event matches announced, according to websites, will be Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton and Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins. Also advertised to appear are John Cena, Bray Wyatt, Kane, Sheamus, Cesaro, Rob Van Dam, Big Show, Bad News Barrett, hopefully the injury is not too serious, Kofi Kingston, and Alberto Del Rio, which I find questionable. I'm dying to know when Alberto Del Rio's contract runs out, because we all know he's made it very, very vocal that he's leaving WWE once his contract expires. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I'd like to know. If anybody has any information on that, please let me know. I'll just like to know my own occurrence, so to speak, as well. Apparently, from what I'm gathering, there is a new TNA X Division champion. There's going to be a new TNA X Division champion to be crowned as well. But you just have to wait and see that. Okay, I don't do spoilers on this show. I like to read spoilers, don't get me wrong, but I don't spoil it for other wrestling fans. If you want to see what happens in TNA, all I know is this new TNA X Division champion to be crowned. If you want to know what that is, I suggest you watch TNA to find out the results of that. That's it for that. From all the talking points, not much to talk about on here from what I've gathered. No, that's the end of them. Now, on to what I mentioned earlier on, guys. Next week's episode, which will go up on July the 7th, is going... I'm just going to tell it like it is, guys. It's going to be recorded on July the 4th, on a Friday, because I am going to invite... I've got guests coming on. Very first ever guests on the Wrestling Matters podcast. I have got Kenny Killer and Sugar Shugs, his right hand man on the Sunday Segue Wrestling podcast. Now, if you don't know who these guys are, I suggest you go and listen to the Sunday Segue Wrestling podcast, which you can get on iTunes, Podomatic, Mixcloud, Stitcher Radio, YouTube. Links will be in the description. Check them out. And they'll be coming on the show. And on that show as well, we're going to be talking about Monday Night Raw and Money in the Bank, as well as asking questions for the guys as well. I will sort that out during the week. If you guys, anybody here listening to this, as well as got any questions for these guys you wanted to shoot straight away, leave in my Twitter on @Tony_Walker, @WN Podcast on Twitter as well. Leave the questions in there as well. I'll pick them up. Or go to the Facebook page as well. And while you're at it, like the Facebook page as well. Facebook.com/WN Podcast. Ask questions. I will pick them up and hopefully we'll get on the show as well. Hopefully I'll get some more questions as well, but I'll sort that out myself. But yeah, we're going to get to know these guys. We're going to have some fun and it's going to be a little bit different, and hopefully if everything works out, which it will, by God, we're going to be doing this a lot more often as well. So hopefully in the near future we'll get some other guests on. Hopefully I can get some wrestlers to come on as well. And there's a few that I want in mind, but the question is will they do it? We'll have to wait and see on that. Also, I want to give some shout outs as well. The following shout outs will be in the description if you see this on YouTube, and in the Podomatic page as well and whatnot as well. The list of the Twitter sites that you should follow are from people that are wrestling fans and are top quality people as well, and you should give them a follow. Why? Because they're awesome. All as well. Make sure you check out Axel's analysis as well. Shout out to Darren Dyer as well. Again, links will be in the description on YouTube and Podomatic and whatnot, wherever you see it. Make sure you check that guy's show out, Axel's analysis. He talks about NXT. He does a blooming good job doing it as well. It's a very entertaining show, and he has his own opinions on it, and who doesn't have their opinions when you're a wrestling fan? And it's just a great show and a good listen to as well. Also, James Powers 33. Make sure you follow him on Twitter as well. Again, links will be in the description. James Wrestling Rambles, please go and check that show out. Hopefully I'll be back on that show very, very soon as well. And also a little shout out as well to Miss Paige Martin on Twitter. Check her out as well. Follow her. She's absolutely awesome, and she has a wrestling brain as well, which I like. She has a brain for wrestling. She's a wrestling fan, of course, but she has a brain for wrestling as well, and she has very opinions and that of what it will be, and she makes very opinions. She's not always right, but it's the opinions and the predictions that she makes. At least from what I've gathered, a couple of that she's predicted that I've been told about, and one she's got right. But the predictions that she makes, a majority of them, probably all of them, you probably think as a booker, if you were a wrestling booker, you probably think, yeah, that could work. That she has that. I don't know if it's a gift or anything, but it's awesome, and she's awesome as well. So make sure you check her out, and hopefully, I don't know, you have to ask James Powers this as well. Hopefully, I'll be on James Powers' show with Miss Martin as well very, very soon. So make sure you check that out as well. Also, Money in the Bank. Hopefully you've seen the pay-per-view. This will goes out Monday. Hopefully you've seen the pay-per-view. Hopefully you've checked it out. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as well. So everybody will have their opinions about it as well. If you have any opinions, @Tony_Walker on Twitter, or Facebook.com/WN Podcast, or @WN Podcast on Twitter. Make sure if you have any opinions on it as well. And you have any opinions on the podcast in general, like I've said many, many times, guys, whatever I'm doing wrong, if I'm doing something wrong or whatever, please let me know on Twitter, on Facebook, whatever, on YouTube as well. Put it in the comment box on YouTube as well. Whatever it is, good critique is all critique to me, if that makes sense. But I don't care. I just want to make this show the top 6 rated show on Podomatic in my category, by the way. But I will make this show, these podcasts, the best podcasts it can be as well. Also, I've got an EPW podcast in the works as well, but I can't do anything at the moment because there's only 3 matches on YouTube. It was from Sheldon on June 13th, but there's only 3 matches being uploaded on YouTube, and apparently there was 5 altogether. So they've missed 2 out, so I'm just waiting for them to get uploaded, and then I can continue what I'm doing, and hopefully you will get that podcast very, very soon. Yeah, just make sure and check it out, and hopefully you've enjoyed the podcast. This episode of the podcast, episode 13. Episode 14 of the podcast will be, I guess you could say, a 3-month anniversary, but that's why it's a very special episode, because Kenny Killen Sugar Shugs from Sunday Segue Wrestling Podcast will be on, so make sure you check that out. It will go up July the 7th. I'm going to be honest with you guys, it'll be recorded July 4th, airs July 7th as well, so make sure you check that out. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anthony Walker. Thank you so much for you guys for your support. Keep liking the podcast, keep talking about the podcast, keep liking the Facebook page, keep liking whatever you can like, download it on iTunes, rate it as well, please. All them ratings would work a treat. But until then, until next time guys, have a good week, and I'll see you soon. Peace. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Anthony Walker, the host of the Wrestling Matters podcast, and you can now check out the Wrestling Matters podcast on youtube.com/HAW Wrestling Matters. You can now go to Podomatic.com, iTunes, and now also you can go to a new one. That's right, a new site, Stitcher Radio. That's right, we're on Stitcher Radio right now. I'm on Stitcher Radio right now, and you could be too. Get yourself on there, download their app, the Stitcher Radio app, or the Stitcher app, whatever it is. Make sure you download their app, and you can listen to it on your phone anywhere you want, at any time you want, at any place you want. That's the Wrestling Matters podcast now on YouTube, iTunes, Podomatic, and Stitcher Radio. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans.